Happy Wednesday. I am Kia.
I'm Marcus. How you doing today?
Good evening.
So, you ready for today's topic, baby?
I am.
Go ahead and tell them what it is.
So today we are talking about family and how family can affect our relationships and what we see in our past, how it affects our emotional, mental well-being in relationships. So let's get that started.
All right, that's what's up. So what brought this on was, do you remember last week when you posted about the situation where the woman murdered her man live on, I'm not sure it's Facebook, but on some live.
It was on Facebook.
It was Facebook. And what prompted what really to bring it up, it was dealing with, where the mom was in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people had issues with that. Mm-hmm. And so it was like, okay, let's talk about how your family and the family dynamic affects your relationships or potential for relationships. And that's what we want to address today. Not talking about the issue that happened with the couple, mm-hmm. but we want to talk about in the roundabout what's going on with thyself. Ooh, thyself. I sound like I'm Shakespeare. Thyself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all. Good evening, family. Good evening, family. Welcome in. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you all's presence this evening. So, yes, as Marcus said, the conversation is stemmed from the video I posted last week where the wife killed her husband on Facebook Live. We will not be discussing the particular situation, but we will be discussing the background of how things can get there.
So, if you really want to think about it, this going to start with childhood. Mm-hmm. And childhood, what's your first intimate relationship? That's your family. Mm-hmm. So your family is going to create your dynamic, your personality, your way of thinking, every little things here and there that's going to mold you,
Yeah, so real quickly, and this real briefly, I want to talk about my family dynamics a little bit.
Okay, talk.
And then you can talk a little bit about your family dynamics because we have very different experiences from childhood, okay? So I grew up in a one-parent home most of the time. So my mom was a single mother, and I literally saw my mother fight men. I saw my mom get into very heated arguments with men. I heard my mom cuss and yell and scream and be very aggressive towards men, the men that she was dating and otherwise. And so, and my grandparents were married for many, many years before he passed away. And my grandmother was very aggressive towards my grandfather. Now, I can't say that she was as physical as my mom was, but there was an incident or two. I had aunts, I had cousins that were pretty physical with men. And so I was around that type of environment. So this is the type of environment that I was around. And I only say that, I'm only setting the stage for that to say that I realized that was toxic when I got older, through a couple of relationships that I had. Not that it was violent or anything like that, but I was the aggressor because that's what I saw. I saw women being aggressive, so I was aggressive. And so through my journey of healing and getting therapy, I was able to resolve those things. But I recognize that your family dynamics have a huge part in how you associate with other people. I wasn't just like that with men. I was just like that. I was a very physical person because that's what I was around. And so, babe, I'll let you kind of just talk about your family dynamics just a little bit before we start the conversation.
It was easy. The opposite. One family. You had a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
I had both my parents. The conflict, they rarely got in arguments that I remember.
Mm-hmm.
So in my household, it was more like my mom you could say she was strong. She handled the bills, this, and that. But also, when Dad came around, at the end of the day, where he said he was going to go. Mm-hmm. She may cuss and fuss, but it's going to get done. So I never seen my parents ever gotten a physical altercation. So that don't register my psyche as ever putting hands on a woman. So I'm always in the mindset if you beat me, I'm leaving. Well, if you attempt to beat me, I'm leaving.
Cut it out.
I'm not saying. Yeah. So if I think you're gonna get violent, it's time to go because there's no need for that. If I don't put my hands on you, you don't put your hands on me, and that's how it should go. And I rarely raise my voice. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, this is crazy because we talk about this or we fuss about this. What I perceive as not yelling, you perceive as me yelling. Mm-hmm. So,
and that's because you've set a tone.
Yeah. So now,
yeah.
I think it was maybe one time that you saw me holler.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually that one big blow up. And we had to put that to bed real quick. Mm-hmm. And so that shaped me, and I had a brother and sister, and in my mind, which could be normal, it could be the abnormal. In my mind, it's normal how we interacted for the younger part of our years. Mm-hmm. It was until the adulthood that we kind of branched off and did our own thing, but we still came back.
Yeah.
Into that central core. So that's why I said it was an opposite from what you.
How I was raised.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another opposite that we could touch on real quick, and that's the affection factor. I was never raised to be hugger, or something happened where I ain't a big hugger.
Well, we gonna get into that later. Remember, we got notes on that.
Oh,
getting into that.
I was running off. I get this vocabulary ninja.
I know you was in the moment, but I want us to stay the course. So we shared with you all our backgrounds so that you get an understanding of we were raised in two very different backgrounds, and while I think it shaped him more, it helped me to resolve some things because I didn't want to be those things. Okay? So some people, they maintain those things and they're comfortable with how they were raised, and they continue to do those things. And some of us try to transform our lives and try to heal from some of those things, because just because it happened in my family doesn't make it right. Just because my mom said it doesn't make it right. Just because my grandmother said it doesn't make it right.
Right. That's correct.
So we just wanted to set the tone for the conversation by starting there. So,
these stories. Oh, I almost lost connection for a second. What you said by sharing these stories, it leads us to show that the things that we happen in our past and growing up, how it shapes us. Mm-hmm. And watching how the people around us have conflicts and how they resolve conflicts, or even how they avoid conflicts. Mm-hmm. All that is going to affect you down the line in your relationship.
Yep.
And I was telling you that people say they lead by words, but all leaders lead by example as well. Mm-hmm. You can tell me one thing, but what I witness is going to be a whole different story.
Yeah.
It's that bullshit about do as I say, not as I do, goes out the window.
Exactly.
Because if I say my dad, beating on my mom, and he say, "Hey, son, you don't need to do that." And 20 years down the line, I'm tapping you on your ass. It was because probably that cycle that I'm caught in. Mm-hmm. But now could point to the point where I'm just, I let certain things roll off my back, probably because of what I seen him do. Mm-hmm. Or other things in that, formative years? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Those formative years.
Yeah, formative years. Try me anytime, Shy, on these big words. But and so that's kind of thing that I'm gonna say. Looking at this way or doing that way, or even television. I thought about that. Even what we watch on television in them formative years makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Instead of watching the Cosby Show, we watching, I don't know, something with violence. Mm-hmm. Can't say 18, but that wasn't violent. That was just some people shooting and never getting killed. But, things like that also affects us, along with our family. Because I'm just rambling right now, but how many times you say have TVs raised children before? Mm-hmm. So, in turn, that's your television was a family.
Yeah. So basically, if you're not aware and you're not taking steps to notice things that you're doing in your relationships, and that's even outside of the context of love relationships, friendships, business, work relationships, if you're not taking a moment to examine that, then you'll miss those things. And so I wasn't examining it. What happened is I was noticing how my relationships were going. I was noticing the patterns of my relationships. So the patterns of my relationships told me to step back and look. Right?
Right. That's very true.
So I was going in a certain direction with relationships, and at some point I had to stop and look at me. Now I realized, because people oftentimes say, well, Kia, that's you. It is. But I realized that I needed to stop and look at me. So many people want to point the finger at other people and blame people all the time. But I had to examine myself. Okay, Kia, you are always in this.
Yeah. Blamability is easier than accountability.
Yeah, all these other people they're just people that come into my life, but I'm always a factor. So I had to examine me. And upon examining myself and reflecting on some of the things that were happening, I had to become more aware of my actions. And as a result of that, therapy was implemented. Journaling was implemented. Poetry was always there. But I had to implement things to unlearn what I had learned. Because that was what I was seeing. I was seeing a lot of violence. I was seeing a lot of physical altercations. I was even hearing a lot of cussing and yelling and, just toxic situations. So Marcus and I grew up in very different households. However, since we've been together in the almost 2 years we've been together, he's not seen that. He doesn't know that Kia, because I've done the work to resolve those issues. So if we argue, yes, it might get elevated here and there. However, we're not swinging on each other. We're not violent with one another. If it's so bad, we walk away. And then we come back to it. But I really feel like I could have gone in that direction had I not taken the time to stop and become more aware. And then do the work. So it's one thing to notice it. It's another thing to actually say, okay, now I need to do some work to basically take that program out of me and insert a new program and download that program. So that's it. We can move on to the next thing. I just wanted to point that out.
Are you good? Shit. Like we said, that old program, we wouldn't be together.
Yeah.
We couldn't make it. Even an older version of myself, we couldn't make it. And so, yeah, delete, reprogram, start over, reboot. It is what it is. It's the truth. You know, and you talked about the therapy. Well, these formative years is how we have developed our mental and emotional health. Mm-hmm. It has a lot to do with it. And when I go to a therapist and you go to your therapist, they always they start with, first thing I asked was about about your childhood. Mm-hmm. What's going on? How was you raised? What went? What said? What this? And in my mind, I was like, shit, my childhood was good, but no childhood is perfect. So there were certain things mm-hmm. that made me do this, act this way, treat people this way, mm-hmm. or not treat people in a certain way, or do things a certain manner, because all that is effectively from the formative years.
Yep.
And so even we talk about how your parents or your parent or whatever handle conflict, but we had to include our siblings, your brother, your sister, how's that dynamic? Were we supportive of each other? Mm-hmm. Are we always competitive with each other? Did we have a hate relationship? These are some things that also is going to affect us, and so we have to look at that. It's like,
And if that's all you're around, who is there to call you out?
Right.
Because everybody does the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So if your mother does it, and your sister does it, and your brother does it, and your grandmother does it, it's in the family, right? So when you do it, nobody's there to call you out because everyone else is doing it. It is a normal thing amongst your family.
When the abnormal is normal.
So you have to have people around you who are different than you, because those people will call that out. So again, if your mother was toxic and physical, and your grandmother was toxic and physical, and your brother's toxic and physical, and your sister's toxic and physical, and then you do toxic and physical things amongst these people, they don't see a problem with that because they are toxic and physical. So you can't be in that environment and expect for anybody in that, because that's a mindset. It's a mindset. They're wired that way. They move that way. And so all of the people amongst that particular circle have a way of thinking. Unless you do what I did. And that is begin to recognize how your actions are affecting your relationships. Get therapy, heal, and resolve that. Because so what? Your mama do that. So what? Your cousin do that. That doesn't mean you have to do that. But you have to come to an understanding that there are some things about me that I need to work on. And not everybody gets that. And I'm always met with that. People always come and say, well, Kia, not everybody gets it. Not everybody does what you do. I'm not saying that. So, but I am saying I was able to identify that. If you're not able to identify that, it's a mindset that you've had since you were a kid, because that's all you know.
So you were saying about you need people around you to call you out or call you out. Right?
Yeah.
That kind of goes back to one of our previous topics about the importance of your circle of friends and how it affects your relationship.
Yep.
So if you haven't checked that out, plug, you can go to the YouTube page.
Yes.
And look it up. But the thing is about that, this is what I'll be nervous about or scared about. That I said the abnormal seems normal. Mm-hmm. So if you call me out, you're the abnormal one. Mm-hmm. I'm fine. I am. This is right. And you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
No. So to me, busting you upside the head might
It's
be
normal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know.
And I've shared this story before. I've shared this story on a number of occasions.
Harpo till we beat her.
Because it's important to understand the serious importance of having people around you that are different. So many years ago, I'm hanging out with a girlfriend of mine, and we had just started hanging out. We were like under a year of being friends and hanging out. And we're at a restaurant one time. And in the restaurant, I got upset. And it was clear I was upset. I was loud. And I was cussing. And it was ghetto. I'm just going to be honest about it. It was ghetto. It was ratchet. And no one had ever called me out before. Ever. Nobody. But she did. And I'll never forget her words to me was, I'm going to have to stop being your friend because that behavior, I don't hang with people that do that. And I was in my early 20s. She was like, I don't hang with people like that. Like, you're doing too much. And so she was like, you're going to have to, make some changes because that's unacceptable. And, she's 6 years older than me. I looked at her very early on as like a big sister. Well, ultimately, I did the work because I did not want to lose her as a friend. And so I say that to say you do have to be around other people. And other people have to be honest with you, and you have to be open to people being honest with you and calling you out. Because her being honest with me allowed me to see myself differently and take the time to reflect. And now I can't be an excuse maker.
Okay.
I can't be a victim.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that's all I know, right? Which is what a lot of people say. And people give me shit for this. And people will probably still give me shit for this. When he posts this on YouTube, I'm sure somebody's going to come for me. But I personally feel that it's an excuse to say, that's all I know. That's my personal opinion. Y'all can come for me. It's all right. I think it's an excuse. When you keep saying, that's all I know. That's all I know. That's all I know. That's all I know. Well, know something different. Try to know something different at least. Expose yourself. Open yourself up. And people are going to say, well, that's all they know.
And that's common. That's all I know. We was talking about that on something else. And I said, that may be all they know. And you told me the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. It's an excuse.
Yeah.
It's
a convenient excuse, right?
Yeah.
Because if I give you my story, then there's some type of pity for me. There's some type of remorse for me. Oh, you grew up in this violent environment. Because people are quick to give excuses for other people. Mm-hmm. Right? People are quick to give an excuse for somebody. Like, you know what? You didn't mean to do that. That's how your mama and daddy was. That's okay. What? No, it's not okay.
So I have an excuse to be jacked up.
And look, you see what Shamika said? There's too many resources for that to be the and ain't that one of the things I said to you one time? I said, It's too many resources. You can't give me the excuse that you don't know better. When I was going through when I was going through my moment of change, I said, all right, where do I start? Okay, Kia, do some research and figure out what you need to do. Check with your insurance from work about mental health, right? Mm-hmm. So back then, that's the first time I knew that we had insurance that was specifically for mental health. And I was like, oh, okay. I started reading books. I started doing all types of things to have a better understanding and unlearn the things I learned. So that's all I know. That's all I know. It's not a reason. And I get why people use it, because you're going to have majority of people that give excuses with them and don't hold them accountable and say, well, that's okay. They didn't know any better. Well, that's how they were raised and that's it. Well, we can't give everybody these passes of that's just okay. Because at some point, you do know better. At some point, when my friend, who's ultimately now one of my best friends, when she called me out, I was like, first of all, it made me pause, because I was like, nobody's ever done that. So, I felt like, well, somebody care enough about me to call me out. Second of all, dang, you brave to call me out, because I was crazy back then. And I knew it. I knew it. So it's like, you have to sit and be reflective and honest with yourself and want to make the changes.
That part.
You have to want it. You have to desire it. And then you have to do the work.
Which, is not overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And it can get hard.
It's not overnight.
Because when you say it, people may get confused saying, oh, I go do 2 or 3 sessions and I'll be, I don't want to say fixed, but I'll be better.
Yeah.
No. And when she called you out, you still had to be at somewhat of a space.
Mentally, yes.
To receive it and accept what she was saying.
Absolutely.
For that light or that trigger to happen. Like, boom.
Yeah.
So, and possibly if she had said to you 3 years earlier.
Probably not.
Yeah. It would have
it was where I was. So, first, it was where I was.
Right.
It was the delivery of her message.
Okay.
Right? Because she wasn't nasty or rude or even angry. She just was like, it was tenderly. She was like, oh, baby, we can't do this. You know what I'm saying?
Auntie style.
It was auntie style, like how Shamika say I get sometime. My auntie style rough, though. I ain't a gentle auntie. But, like, that's how she was, though. She was like, oh, no, baby, we can't be doing this. We can't go outside acting like this. No. She was like, that's inappropriate. We're going to get it together. I was like, oh. Oh, let me get my shit together.
Like she done, clouds done lifted, the sun started shining.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's some angel. Say, huh? I deliver you from the bullshit and your craziness.
Yeah. Okay, what we got next, babe?
Hell. So let's fast forward. So we talking about these informative years. Let's fast forward.
Informative.
They informed me to grow shit. I mean, informative. Hell, tomato, stop playing with me. All right. Well, we fast forward into these years. We know you're an adult. Now you're seeking relationships or you're in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say, for instance, you're in a relationship. You're not in a relationship. And you have a...
For instance?
You ain't let me finish. Okay? I got this.
Okay.
When I say for instance, I'm referring to in your toxic years.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
In your toxic... in your relationship, and your mom has these... And to say perhaps she has these toxic traits as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you treat me, she's always looking at this and guiding you to keep doing this. Or we have an argument and you go run and tell her. Now she will look at me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I call that like a secondhand awareness. So now her opinion of me is solely based on the toxic things that's been going on in the household. So now I look like maybe look like a worse person, or she's always trying to guide you. How you should do this in your relationship. Mm-hmm. You should do that. And this is where we gotta talk about setting the rules of what your family, all right, now I'm not gonna tell you this. No, you just can't got free reign in the house. You just can't, because you got a key to the house. Don't mean you're gonna walk in. There's still
setting those boundaries.
Setting boundaries, because like I always told you, we should have a force field around us. What stays on that force field stays in our force field, and we can't let all the outside or all the negative influences affect our relationship. And family sometimes can be a negative effect.
Right.
And when things like that happen, it goes back to where I'm saying the abnormal seems normal. So now guess what? The relationship don't work out. You're not seeing why it didn't work out. It's more like, oh, screw it, didn't work out. I'll move on to the next. And the same thing happens. The pattern. And I don't want to say necessarily your mom. We could say a sister or a brother. Because a brother will do that real quick. Man, why you let the man talk to you like that? Man, why you fixing that man plate? Why are you doing this?
Right.
That's a grown ass man.
Right.
You don't need. Wait a minute. Whoa, you did what? You paid for what? He asked you for what? This, especially about brothers talking about money all day. Why ain't in your pocket like that? But he may not know. I might have did something like gave you my whole paycheck to help you out of a situation. Nah, I don't have anything right now, and you pay for this. But see, how they say, there's 3 sides to every story. The person outside is never hearing the true side, and that causes more conflict.
Right.
So now he may just say, he want to approach me, look at me, or like, hey, then guess what? Now I'm on defensive because now you're intrusive to my relationship. Or now he don't like me, and if I want to propose to you one day, he's like, don't marry that dude. He ain't this or he ain't that, because he heard a secondhand account of situations, not the true account necessarily.
Yeah.
And that same thing goes with friends. Those same boundaries and rules gotta be set in place for friends, because friends will do that just as well, especially if you're in a bad or toxic place. Who are your friends going to be? They're bad and toxic people as well. They all run together. So that saying about birds of a feather flock together, them crazy bats all fly together. So
yeah.
All right, but you got something to say on that, babe?
No, I mean, I think friends. The same conversation we had about family is the same conversation we'll have about friends. You have to set those boundaries, and you have to look at yourself. You have to look at the types of relationships that you're having. You have to look at the patterns. So I often look at patterns, like what kind of people are around me. What are the things of personalities and things like that? Are you toxic? Are you negative? Are you gossiping all the time? Like, you have to look at those things, and then you have to assess, right? Like, so it's no different than when I had to take an assessment and say, okay, Kia, you can't behave this way. A lot of times, go and look at yourself. Go within, do the work that is required so that you can grow, so that you can heal, so that you can evolve. And don't make excuses. Don't blame anyone else, but you have to separate yourself from family members or friends that have those tendencies, and who won't call you out for that bad behavior.
You know what? Just listening, what came across my mind about how these bad behaviors affect your relationship. So, for instance, if the relationship don't work, and the other person moves on, and he gets into another relationship, guess what just happened? He took his baggage with him. He took some baggage with him from this toxic relationship.
Right.
So if that person didn't take time to unload that baggage, heal, or get right before moving on, guess what? We just started a cycle of baggage.
Yeah.
That they go back to something else we talked about one time. So that toxicness is like a rash.
Yeah,
You know,
it's gonna spread.
It's gonna spread. You know, it started with this at the youth. Now you're an adult. It's spread. Now it's spread to people outside your family. That's that rash now is going to other families.
So I
It's
think
contagious.
a big part of this is awareness. I think a lot of people believe they're in a space of awareness, but awareness looks like truly taking examination of yourself, not other people. Because we oftentimes do that, right? We're often like, well, they did this and they did this and this is what they did. That's how they did it. But true awareness takes place within. So it's all about, okay, these are what types of people are around me. How do I feel around people? How do I make people feel? And understand what type of person that you are. Because we want to go outward. We want to point out all of these faults and flaws with other people. But the best form of awareness comes from you understanding yourself. The best form of understanding and growing in your awareness comes from you digging deep. And therapy did that for me. Because I know what to call out for myself. I know what to identify in myself. So you have to be able to do that to be able to evolve and heal and grow and make those pivots and adjustments when necessary. Otherwise, you'll be in this hamster wheel and you'll be repeating the same type of people you're around. You'll be repeating the same types of relationships that you're in. You'll be repeating stuff over and over and over again. And so in order for us to evolve and grow and heal, we have to become more self-aware. Just because it happened in my childhood doesn't give me the excuse to do that. Just because I saw that happen in my family, and just because I saw friends do it, just because that was on TV, I have no excuse for that. I'm responsible for me. And so we have to get past the point where we're making excuses and saying, well, this happened to me and that. It's a victim mindset to do that. It's a victim mindset and mentality when you constantly are blaming and pointing the finger instead of going within. And let me say this, because I know we say that, you say this to me all the time. That sounds easy, babe. But I will say this. It's not easy. It's not easy. And the shit don't feel good when you got to look in the mirror and say, I'm toxic. It don't feel good. It doesn't feel good to admit certain things about yourself that are negative. But in order for you to grow and have healthier relationships, you have to get to that point. I'm in the healthiest relationship I've ever had now because of the work that I did. I wouldn't be in this position if I didn't do that work. That's not to pat myself on the back. That's not to even say I'm better than anybody else. It's only to say I had to get that aware to acknowledge my flaws, my ugliness, the toxic traits about myself. And I had to call that out. I had to call myself out. Kia, you're being toxic. Kia, you're being aggressive. Kia, you're being this. And I had to acknowledge that. I had to see where the root of those things came from and do the work to heal those things about myself. And I'm still healing from some of those things.
So what we do have to shine a light on, as you healing and as you grown from here to here, remember that rash you talking about, toxic rash? That's a positive healing that heals other people around you. So when people see the work you've done, they'll do the same. Or that act of kindness that you didn't extend before moves on.
Yeah.
So there's rewards to that hard work.
Right.
Everybody that's around you is better for the work you did.
That's right, because they get the healthy,
the benefits.
Yeah, they get the healthy version of me. They get the positive version of me. They get the aware version of me. So you get better because I get better.
Yeah.
And then other people around you will get better because you get better. But it's about acknowledging that.
So I'm gonna say this. So we at the beginning of the show, we talked about our childhood, and you talk about you seen your mom do this. Since we've been together, I have seen your mom do none of that. You know, I love her like she my own mom. You know, we family. So the work you did, you know, dominoed.
Yep.
You know, so that's awesome. You see what I'm saying? So that work that you do, or the work that you can do, it's not just for you.
Yeah.
It's for everybody around you. And that's going to make your life better, their life better, make the whole environment better. So those things like that have a ripple effect that we don't know how far the ocean is.
That's true.
You know, so
That's true, babe. Like, it is true. And the other day, T was saying to me, she was like, man, she was like, I'm just so proud of you. You've come such a long way. You are not the person that I met. And I can appreciate that. And so I think for anybody out there that may be struggling with their past childhood issues as it pertains to what you saw as a child and how you grew up and those things, we have the ability to download something different and delete those things. As we were talking about the other day, like, you know, you have to, it's a reset mindset, you know, it's a reset mindset. And I know that a lot of young people, I mean, especially in our community, a lot of people grow up in these environments, they get in these relationships, and it becomes toxic, it becomes dangerous. People end up hurting one another, and just as we stated, you know, that woman ended up killing her husband because of the toxicity that she grew up in. And you could hear that from the mother. That was an environment that she grew up in. That was an environment that the mother likely grew up in. That was an environment that he was used to. I can't say that his mom was like that, but he had become used to it. And so we have to be very, very careful. I want us to close out the last 18 minutes of this by talking about how you need to be careful when you're looking for a mate and when you're talking to people. Now, this is interesting because I want to point out how this is how I know that there was some evolving and some growth and some healing, because
as she smiles, I know I look good. Go ahead.
Because remember, like, I had very specific things I wanted to know early on. And one of those things that was in the top 3 was family history.
Oh. I gave it to you.
I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just saying that was one of the things I wanted to know because I understood. So in my earlier years, I didn't ask that question because I didn't realize the significance of how you grow up being reflective as you become an adult and how you interact and have relationships with people. I didn't realize that earlier on before I started doing my healing work. And so he probably was like, why do you keep asking me that? I said, I need to meet your family. I need to meet your family. I need to meet your family. I've talked to your mom on the phone. You told me about these people. I need to meet your family.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Because when she met my brother, he was dead drunk. So he come, she meet him dead drunk, and damn it, an hour later she dead drunk with him. They taking shots on the patio. So, oh shit, I told you.
But it was fun. Like, we had a good time. But that's not even really the point. The point is understanding the background of family dynamics is important because, again, if I see that your brother was kicking his girlfriend ass, right? Us getting drunk part, that's funny and fun and all. But honestly, I need to see if there's toxicity in this family. I need to see if people around here yelling and screaming and cussing each other out. I need to see if people laying hands on each other. I need to see the interactions. So once I saw that, I was good. I was like, oh, okay. They have fun, I have fun. They like to eat, I like to eat. They like to listen to music, I like to listen to music. So yes, it was for me. I needed to understand those things, to know who I'm dealing with. I'm not getting in a serious relationship with you or continuing a serious relationship with you until I meet your family. Like, this it. And I kept telling him, this it. I need to meet your family now. Because if I don't, we're going to have an issue. I need to know where you came from. I need to know that. Because it's essential. If you don't know where people come from, you're going to mess around and you're going to be involved in with people, and you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's where you get all this from. Okay, I'm good. Or are you trying to pretend like you're not that? And then you're doing this, and then later that's going to come out? Yeah, you can evolve from your family. You can change from your family, but I still need to, like, spend some time around these people and talk to them and get an understanding.
I mean, I get it. So
you didn't get it, though.
I'm sorry. You gonna let me speak on this? Let me put my stank on it, damn it, anime. All right, so what I'm saying to you is, if it was some toxic or some out of bounds stuff that you saw, I'm thinking that once you saw it, you would have to say, hey, do I acknowledge that this is not good? Mm-hmm. And what do I do? What kind of healing do I need, or what kind of progression am I doing to make sure I don't do that or follow that same pattern? And by you seeing that, and if you're my one, how would you help me or support me in that way? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying. I can see that, and I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I didn't. Don't get me wrong. I figured once I told you, you should take it at face value. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because that's what you wanted.
You
wanted me to take it at face value. You was like, no, my family good. I was like, yeah, let me be the judge of that.
Yeah, I mean,
let me be the judge of if your family good.
Like, sure. I was like, damn, you can say that.
No, he wasn't an alcohol bully, but he kind of was.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
He was.
He was.
I
had no intention on getting drunk.
I ain't gonna lie, yeah.
I had no intention on it.
You know?
He's like, take another shot. Take another shot. Take another shot. I was like, okay.
I just knew better. I said, well, we ain't driving nowhere. We good. We staying right here. So
yeah,
have fun. Eat another rib.
Yeah. But everything he described and told me, I saw. So then I was good. I'm like, okay, now we can move forward. But I can't move forward and I don't know your family. I haven't met them for myself.
I mean, I hear your reasons. Like, it's just something that was never really said to me before.
Yeah. So how do we, let's get off of that subject about us and talk about what words do we have for young people, older people, whoever it may be, who are looking at themselves and the relationships that they find themselves in over and over. What advice are we giving to these people?
I think
about moving into healthier relationships.
So first, I think you need to step back. It's almost like you need to examine yourself and your relationships with you're a third set of eyes, like you're a independent party. Like, I'm watching my life on this screen. And it's like, wow, that's what's going on. I see that. Then once you become more self-aware, and you have to know that you're not trying to change by yourself, or you don't have to change by yourself. Like you said, there's resources. Don't be ashamed of resources, because we all know that, especially in our community, a lot of times seeking mental health or a therapist seems negative. And don't think of it as negative. Think of it as a support. Mm-hmm. You know, get past that mental stigma that if I go to a psychologist or a therapist, I'm crazy.
Right.
that's not what it is. It's just you need to step back. I need to retune myself, reprogram myself. Maybe, like you said, delete the old program. Erase the hard drive. Start. Let's put the new operating system on, because it had some flaws in it. It had some bugs.
Yeah.
We have to get rid of bugs. Not to say your life is going to be perfect from that point on. No, but it's to be better than it was before. We got to be better. By being better, we stop the rash. Like I say, this toxic rash. We have to treat it. You like to say heal. Well, what a rash got to do? So a rash got to heal. Put on some ointment on it or whatever. Then stop the spread. That's first thing. You got to stop the spread. And when that may be maybe I'm not ready to go into another relationship. Maybe I'm not ready to date anybody yet. Mm-hmm. Because I got to keep this rash from spreading. I have to reevaluate. Then I have to see, okay, what am I looking for, and am I ready to receive what I'm looking for? Because if I'm not ready to receive this perfect partner, all I'm doing, I'm just gonna mess it over. Mm-hmm. So, and guess what? That one that was meant for you is gone somewhere else. Now that person is meant for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Because you wasn't ready. So when another one comes, are you really ready? We always ask, can you put this in my life? Can you put this in my path? If it's put in your path, what you gonna do with it? Are you gonna run it over, or are you gonna accept it? So therapy is one. Self-evaluation is first, and willing to accept that who you are is not who you can be. You can be
not all you are. Yeah,
it's not all you are, because I can always be a better version of myself. Mm-hmm. Things might influence me, but ultimately, I can make me.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
So those were all good. I think I echo a lot of those things, and I think that it's really important. It's really, really important to take inventory. And journaling is... What was that?
My ice in my cup.
Oh. Journaling is a very effective way for what I call the metric system. And I'll briefly tell you what I mean about that. When you journal and you're able to go back and look, you're able to measure either your growth or your stagnation. So if I'm looking at what I wrote a year ago, and I'm still talking about the same things a year later, he did this, they did this, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. If you're still in that place, that is an opportunity for you to measure, okay, I haven't done much growing here, but that's okay. Give yourself grace and be willing to do what it takes to grow, to evolve, and to change, so that you can heal those parts of you that need tending to, so that you don't keep making the same mistakes. You don't end up in the same types of relationships. Many of us, and I did it for many years, I was married twice. You get in a relationship with somebody different, but they just look different. It's the same person. You attract the same person. You are the same person, so you keep dealing with the same types of things. It wasn't until I got quiet and said, I just need to be by myself. I need to heal. I need to do the necessary work so that I can have a healthy relationship. That's what I deserve. And I started writing, this is what I want. So when you start writing, this is what I want, you must become what you want. You can't want something and not become that. So you can't have 10 things on a list and you don't embody any of those things on the list. You have to also become those things on the list. So it's in that quietness, it's in that stillness, it's in that, I am taking inventory of myself and my habits and my ways so that I can grow, so that I can become more aware of my actions and correct them. Because all of us deserve to have happy, healthy, positive, loving, evolving relationships. And the only way we're going to get there is by really being accountable for our actions and not becoming the victim and not, there's a lot of things I could say. Oh, I had this and I saw this and I went through this and who gives a damn? At the end of the day, I'm dealing with people out here that have gone through shit too. I'm dealing with people that ain't gone through much, but they still don't want to deal with it. And they shouldn't have to. I need to resolve my issues and I need to heal so that I can have healthy relationships with my partner, my friends, and anybody else I encounter. Because nobody deserves your shit. And nobody has to put up with it. And you're going to find yourself constantly having these toxic relationships with people and wondering why, or blaming them. Blaming other people. Some of us wonder why, and some of us just blame other people. And we don't just want to do the work. We just don't want to be accountable and do the work. And so that's what Date Affirm the Real is about. We want to see other people in healthy, loving, positive, successful relationships. And you don't get there by not looking at yourself. You don't get there by not doing the work. I can easily point out everybody else's flaws. I don't have time for that. That gets me nowhere because I have a ton of flaws. So I need to reflect on me. I need to look at me. Your flaws, listen, your flaws don't have nothing to do with mine. And it's your flaws, looking at your flaws is nothing but it's a distraction from me working on my own shit. Right?
It really is.
So, we just need to do the internal work that's necessary. And again, I know that's hard. I've tried to call people out the way that my best friend called me out 20 years ago. And some people received it while others didn't. And that's fine. If you don't get it, you won't get it.
The way I deliver a message, it may not be meant for you to receive it. But there's somebody out there where I deliver it. It's how it's meant to get across.
Yeah.
I can't help everybody. Or I can't message everybody.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is, if I got something good and I'm sharing something good, I can get one.
Yeah.
If one gets one gets another.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what.
That's good, baby. That's good. I'm giving you some hearts for that.
I got your heart.
You got my heart.
I got your heart.
Sugar.
All right.
That's my sugar.
I think that should wrap it up.
That wraps it up, baby.
Oh.
They was quiet tonight, wasn't they?
Yeah. That's all right. But I got some good news before we wrap it up.
What's some of the good news?
What's happening Tuesday?
Oh, we're not telling that.
We don't tell it yet. Mm-hmm. Oh, she won't let me tell it.
We ain't telling that.
We got something else coming up, but I can't tell it.
Yeah. Y'all will see it.
Stay tuned.